Everybody, welcome to Stack Your Points. Thanks for watching and listening. And this is the Friday Q&A segment. So your questions, we answer them, sometimes up to an hour, sometimes it creates its own episode in and of itself. So if you have questions, always feel free to drop them on the YouTube channel or email us at stackyourpoints@gmail.com. But we hope you enjoy this week's Q&A session. Thanks for watching and listening. Welcome to another episode of Stack Your Points. It's Monday night. I'm not in my hoodie, and from the pre-show, it's already bread and circuses. It's been chaos. So I am joined this week by RJ from Do You Take Cards. RJ, how are you tonight?
I am doing well. Matt, the first video I ever saw of you, you were wearing an Islanders jersey, so this is bringing me back to where it all began.
Very, very cool. Yep, my jersey collection is quite expensive, but the Islanders are home, and I just got back from the Islanders game. They ended up losing in a shootout, probably due to terrible refereeing and Toronto being Toronto. So, anyway, we're also joined by Tariq from Reeks Rewards, who is Robert Ism's new public enemy number one. Tariq, how are you tonight?
I'm good, and I haven't decided on American. I have done too many American jokes to crawl my way with my tail tucked between my legs for them. So I think he's chilling for right now. But other than that, another year around the sun, or rotation around the sun, however how you say it. Yeah, I turned 26 yesterday. So cool.
Happy belated birthday. And my phone literally exploded from the messages from Robert saying, please hide him. No. And we're also joined by a new face this week. We know him as Kid Kat in our various servers, but Kid Kat, if you'd like to introduce yourself to the Stack Your Points community.
Hey everyone, Kid Kat, Craig, if you know me well enough. One, I need to apologize to Matt because I asked him to a hockey game, not realizing that you were an Islanders fan, and I invited you to those dirty, dirty Rangers. And two, Tariq, you are not invited to AA. We are not a welcoming community, and in no way, shape, or form should you ever consider coming over here.
Can I just be clear? This is American Airlines, people. Just so we're clear about what we're talking about.
I mean, I would have just poured open a bottle of Hennessy since I wasn't welcome there. I was like, hey, why not? You know, there's no hope for me.
One AA tries to not disclose members' names, tries not to disclose people who are within the program. The other AA is very much asking Tariq not to ruin what's left of their award chart. We are going to jump into our questions. Our first question comes from Double Double Animal Fries, who asks, what got you into credit cards in the first place? And RJ, what got you into credit cards in the first place?
I saw a system where I could accrue points like it was Mario back in the day, because that's what I used to play. 6 golden coins. That was my Mario. I'm like, huh, I could do points like those little round coin thingies that you win. I like that idea. Let me do that. And then I got a card and I'm like, huh, I guess I could get another one. What's one more Amex card? And then I just accrued them all. I am seriously considering getting the business green because I can get an elevated 25,000 point welcome offer for 3,000 spend in 3 months, and it is tempting. I am so far I have not done it, but it would collect the six charge cards. So I'm thinking about it.
I hear when you put them together in your wallet will allow you to snap people out of existence.
I mean, I get it for the points, but you hate the business green card.
I do, but for 25,000 points, when I just had like 1,000 Amex points total, 25,000, I'm up to 24,000 right now, but an extra 25,000 would be really, really nice.
I mean, I guess I can't say much. I got the Hyatt business card.
No, it's still not that bad.
I love the cell phone from time to time on that one. We don't even have to say it anymore. Craig, what got you into credit cards in the first place?
I got married in 2020 and we went on that was December. And then January 2021, a little something hit that I won't name because YouTube. And while we were sitting in the world's most filthy La Quinta Inn in Tampa Bay, I thought to myself, how could I possibly pay for a plane ticket home? And somehow found my way to a Chad's Money Minutes video and looked at, oh, this is how people pay for plane tickets without cash. And here we are today.
I generally don't stand for La Quinta besmirchment. However, it was in Florida. I'll allow it.
It was absolutely filthy. There was a septum piercing on the bathtub and a footprint on the sink. So, yeah, just putting that in perspective.
How does one get a foot on the? You know what? Best not to ask questions.
You don't want to know that answer.
I'm more concerned about the septum piercing on the. Yeah. All right.
I was gonna say someone had a hell of a night that night.
No comment. All right. Credit cards for me. I jumped into the points and miles game after in early 2023, realizing that there are better ways to pay for travel and subsidize your travel than just paying out of pocket and trying to make like Expedia and Booking and Kayak and all of those things try to work together for yourself. And I decided that I was tired of name your own price sucking, and I would rather control my ability to book things properly. So jumped in from there. I am by no means an expert in terms of, point redemptions, cent per point, things like that, but I do try to find at least halfway decent deals for myself and my family while traveling at this point. So there you go. Not the greatest entry, but it's the one I got. Tariq, how did you jump into credit cards?
So I've talked about my financial background a little bit. I got to a stage in my personal finance journey where everything was just smooth and I got bored. And I just found out that there was a way to get some money back from the money that you were already spending. Because at the time I was putting everything on a debit card. So once I found out I can just get cash back from just regular everyday spending, I opened up a 2% cashback credit card and then went cash back and then went down the rabbit hole. And then once I found out that I was redeeming my cash back for hotels, I got into points and miles. And, a couple of years later, now I co-host a podcast. So thanks, personal finance, boredom.
There we go. No, we're glad to have you, even though you're just making a habit of ruining airlines left and right.
Hey, that was just a recent occurrence. It was, I guess if I'd have never left from United to Southwest, we wouldn't have this problem.
So what happens when Hyatt goes dynamic? Is that going to also be on Drake?
No, that's
No.
predestined.
Yeah, I've been with Hyatt for like a year now.
It'll be the conductor of the ink train that causes that to happen.
No comment.
The OG version of who y'all think I am.
No further comment. All right, we'll move on over to our next question. It comes from Jason, who asks, what is the best unexpected travel surprise that brought just a little bit of joy to your trip? Craig, have you had any nice surprises that have come up from your trip in your extensive travels?
Yes. So this one is going to sound absolutely miserable when I say it at first. Utah has long stretches of no services, so no police services, no medical services, no cell phone service. And when my wife and little child and I, at the time, about 18 months, we realized, oh, we're about to be on a road up a mountain for 245 miles with no services. What are we possibly going to do? Well, Matt, you have a tiny human. You understand that long car rides do not work. And so we stopped maybe every hour or every half an hour just to pull off on the side of the road, and you get to see some of the most beautiful things in the world. And we saw a talking raven. I know you're not supposed to feed the wildlife. Do not tell any park rangers that I fed a raven, because I didn't. But this raven will call and respond to you, and if you give it to Cheeto. And so, good times.
The best response to if anyone were to ask you is I saw nothing.
There we go.
Yeah. RJ, have you had any pleasantly unexpected travel surprises that brought you a little bit of joy to your trip?
I got cookies from a Hilton that wasn't a DoubleTree. That was pretty great.
Nice.
They were like fresh baked. Like one of the managers was like in culinary school in their spare time, so they just made cookies. And they had them out in like these little like bags for us. So that was, I mean, look, there's only so much you can do to bring a smile to my face, but if you give me a chocolate chip cookie that is still just a little bit warm, I'm really really malleable at that point. So yeah, it was a little joy.
Was this a non-DoubleTree in the greater Poughkeepsie, New York area near the Culinary Institute of America?
It was not. It was
Okay.
in Rhode Island.
Johnson and Wales?
It was near Johnson Wells. Yes.
Nailed it. Sad I know these things. Tariq, what has brought you that little spark of joy that was unexpected on a travel trip?
So
That
I
was
had
redundant.
like three examples I had. First one was from a staycation when I stayed at the Grand Hyatt downtown San Antonio. At check-in, they just gave me like a welcome margarita, and that kind of just set the tone for the trip. I was like, hell yeah. So it was good, and I didn't have status or anything. It was just the regular old member, and they just gave me a welcome margarita when I was on the 23rd floor. So that was cool. Second one was when I was in Chicago. Just at the time we were walking down, going to go get breakfast. The Italian Air Force just so happened to be doing like a U.S. flyover thing, and they happened to be in Chicago at the time. So they flew over the Chicago River, colors and all. And I was just like, that is cool. Like I had nothing more. I was just impressed. And third, this was from my most recent trip when I flew into Kansas City, picked up the rental, obviously got the President's Circle upgrade, even though I'm just 5-star, thanks IHG. And in the car, there was a scraper for snow. Now, snow wasn't in the forecast, but I was like, cool, whatever. It snowed the night before we were supposed to leave, and I just saw this huge sheet of snow on my rental. And I was like, oh, right, we have that scraper. That really came in handy. Because if not, I would have been screwed. So those are like my three little surprises that, just made my day a little bit better in different ways. Thank God for that scraper, man. That was so much snow.
Wait, so if you're from Texas, you don't travel with a snow scraper? Like this is not a thing that
I
normal
didn't
people
know
travel
what a
with?
snow scraper was until I. The only reason why I knew about a snow scraper is because my brother happened to be in Missouri for school for the first 2 years of college, and he had snow. But when it snows in Texas, at least below Dallas Fort Worth area, the state shuts down.
So does your power grid.
Don't remind me.
We have an early entry in the title this week race.
Unlike similar to some certain U.S. representatives that represented her state, I also wanted to flee to Cancun.
Oh, somebody's spicy today.
A Canuck that can't handle the snow. Who would have known? Anyway, yeah, I always love to bring up the story of in 2014, I went down to North Carolina for college friend's wedding. I traveled I flew down, flew to Raleigh, Durham out of JFK on JetBlue, and the flight was delayed for a while. It was raining heavily. I just looked completely miserable when I walked into I believe it was Enterprise at the time. Don't remember which car rental place I rented from, but I walked up to the counter. The lady behind the counter just gave one look at me and said, "You look like you could use something to cheer you up. You're booked for this car. I'm going to give you the Mustang we have on site." So for the duration of my trip in Raleigh and that section of North Carolina, and I drove out to Greensboro to go back and visit some college friends. For that whole trip, I got to drive around in a Mustang, so that was nice. Upgraded my trip just instantly. So that was pretty fun. It hasn't happened since. Don't expect it to happen again, but it was really nice just to like walk in and just have the person behind the counter just say, "I'm going to fix your day. Take this pretty car." So,
Coming from someone that worked at Enterprise, did you do the customer satisfaction survey? Because that influences their performance in order to be like promoted.
I believe I did, but you're asking about something that happened 11 years ago. I do not remember.
Hey, you remember the Mustang? So I was just
Remember
going
the
to take a
Mustang?
shot.
I just want to point out, I do 15 to 20 rentals a year. I've never been upgraded, not once.
And you have like all the statuses, right?
Every single one. Not a single upgrade ever in the last like 4 years that I've been traveling.
Be in your mid-20s and look like you just want to walk into the middle of traffic, I guess, at RDU.
You need to look sadder when you walk in. I'm sure you go in and you're just like so upbeat that they're like, "Oh, he doesn't need an upgrade." You need to look like you've just lost your dog.
They should already see the pain behind the smile, but that's okay. We'll see it in the employee survey.
Ooh.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Ouch. All right. So yeah, Jason, those are some of our best unexpected surprises. Brought us a little bit of joy. We'll go to our next question. It comes from Acme Acres, who asks, how do you earn points if you don't really spend a lot of money? So I'll start first on this one because the obvious answer that would be from most folks in the community would be, oh, welcome offers. Yes, but no. The occasional welcome offer will be great. Unless you are someone who has a large enough credit profile to be able to get welcome after welcome after welcome offer and be able to get, whatever algorithm unlock that you can achieve from American Express to be offered no lifetime language offer after no lifetime language offer after no lifetime language offer. Until you're at that point, you're playing a much different game than the folks playing that game. That game is on easy mode. The struggle bus game will be a little bit harder. Welcome offers from time to time will boost your ability to make returns, like the current Chase Freedom Unlimited welcome offer, 250 back on 500 and spend in 3 months. That's fantastic. That's a 50% return on money. You don't have to spend a lot of money to get that. You can only get that every so often, though. So best way to earn points would be welcome offers from time as allowed based on your situation. Next is going to be point stacking, like Lonnie pushes, like we've mentioned. If you are someone who is remotely interested in flying United, getting the mileage plus XApp and starting your point stack of adventures that way is fantastic, is great. If you're somebody who uses a lot of the brands in any of the shopping portals that are offered, like when they do the 3.5 times miles for AA for Apple, and you want to make an Apple purchase, go through the portal. Your large purchase from Apple will get you 3.5 times points at American Airlines or United or Delta, so on and so forth. Same thing with Chase. So check out shopping portals. And then the other one is, based off of your you have your base multipliers. Some cards will offer you mileage multipliers on top of at various retailers. Capital One and American Express will sometimes offer you, get X number of miles per dollar spent. So those are the three I can think of offhand, aside from welcome offers and no lifetime welcome offers. So if you don't really spend a lot of money, there's fine lines to work, but there's other ways to supplement your points as well. RJ, anything to add there?
So I have a couple of things. The first is you need to be meticulous. If you're not outputting a lot of money, you need to be meticulous in how you actually put that money out to get the rewards back if you want to play in the point system. That means if you're doing food shopping, you're not probably shopping at a warehouse because you're not going to get that. So you have to understand, okay, you're going to pay a little bit more to go to a normal grocery store to get that. What is that cost, right? Like what are you not quote saving by going to, I'm just going to say Hannaford because that's local to where I am, insert regional store here, right? Versus going to a Sam's Club or a Costco or whatever, right? Like if that number is not that big, right? If it's one or two of you and you don't actually need the supersized toilet paper, like you can buy normal sized toilet paper and it lasts you a decent amount of time. Like, okay, cool. Maybe you don't need to do the warehouse stores, right? Like, so you have to be meticulous in how you spend money. You have to do a lot of mental legwork because you're not putting out. If your rent will allow you to pay without 3.5%, 4.5% for a servicing fee, your rent is probably your biggest form of expense every month. So take a look at something like a Bilt. If you can't get Bilt and you can pay with your card, and you either don't have that fee depending on who your landlord is, or you can eat that fee, something to look at, right? Like looking at things like that is an option. I'm going to suggest something, and I sort of pause before I do because I know that the Stack Your Points Discord is going to have fun with my answer here. Because this is one of those moments where I'm going to say, this is not what I do. This is not how my brain works. But this is what I would actually recommend. If you do not have a lot of spend, do not get into points right now. Flat out, point blank, do not get into points right now. Do cash back. And then when you get X number of cash back, buy points on sale. That is not something that I want to do because that's not how my brain works. And I have enough spend where I can accrue points at a rate of which I am comfortable with. So not what I do, but again, if you don't have a ton of spend and you can get 3, 4, or 5% back on a bunch of things because cashback cards tend to give you a little bit more on the return for less annual fee, because that's something you also have to think about. The gold card is great, but you are putting out $325 that you're hoping to get back. That is not a promise of return. That is simply the money you have to expend to have that card in your wallet. Right? But if you have the autograph card by Wells Fargo, that's a $0 card that covers a multitude of things. So that might be an option. Like you have to really interrogate, why do you want to be in points specifically? Not why you want to use credit cards, because there are, even if you're not spending a lot of money, there are logistical reasons credit cards might be helpful. But deciding to do points when you're not putting out a lot of money might not be the best option, even though the idea of, well, if I just accrue 60,000 points, I can go first class to Europe. But if you're not spending a lot of money, are you actually going to pay for that first class to Europe trip? Because it's not just the plane, it's the hotel, it's transportation, it's food, it's logistics, it's all of that, right? So if you're spending $1,200 a month outside of your rent, or less, probably do cash back. And I'm just throwing that number out, but figure out what that tipping point is for you, right? Figure out, okay, I can get much more cash back. And maybe you don't buy points. Maybe you just use that cash back for hotel stays. Maybe you do it, whatever. But really interrogate why you're in points when you can't accrue the points, especially like Matt said, if you don't have a thick enough profile to get sign up bonus after sign up bonus after sign up bonus. Because I think I can say, honestly, for all four of us, we come to a certain point where the banks just say no. Like, we all make decent amounts of money, and the bank will eventually say no. Like, there are very few people, the 1% of the 1%, that can always get a card no matter what is going on in the world, right? Like the people that have like 2 commas in their bank account number, those are the people that can always get a card. I do not have 2 commas in my bank account. I'm gonna be real honest for a second, right? But I can usually get what I need. I at least have what I need right now. So for me, points work. For a lot of people, points work. But for a lot of people, cashback works better. And you might be right now a cashback. And it's not saying cashback is less than points. There are people who do cashback and make out far better than they would in points. But you have to figure out if your spend isn't conducive to points, why are you trying to fit the square peg into the round hole? Why not do cashback and then do smart cashback of buying points or doing other things? So I know that is antithetical to my personal approach, but this is not about my personal approach right now. This is about how to answer this question in a way that makes sense. So Spathco, Jason, there you go. I told you you would like one of my answers to the questions this week. That is the one.
In the same answer, RJ has advocated cashback and for the purposes of eventually purchasing points, and said something positive about Built. It's bizarro world here tonight, folks.
We are back in the Matrix.
Yeah. Craig, how would you approach this?
I think so one, I will 100% agree with RJ to say, and take it even a step further, and I'm living proof of this, right? If you are not in a good financial or healthy financial position, meaning that you at least have something in your savings, something in an emergency fund, don't worry about points and miles. Now, depending on how we categorize Chase and some of the other ones that function a little funkily, where it's like, oh, this can be points or it can be cash back. Pay your bills, get your financial life in order. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, and everything we do in this points and miles community is just it's extra. It's not necessary. It's not needed. So that's my first baseline. To that, though, I want to say I think that it depends. So I've rapidly changed financial positions in the last 5 to 10-ish years after grad school and all that stuff. And I will tell you, when in grad school, I was doing everything I could for me and my wife to be able to go on a trip because, yeah, we had a little something in emergency and we had enough to cover our rent, but I was doing surveys for American Airlines or for United, and I was the guy that was sitting there for 3 or 4 hours just knocking out 20-point surveys until we had enough to do a redemption to go to Florida for 3 days and come back. But something I will tell you is if you trust your family or you have trusted people, having an authorized user, especially when they are not credit card people, is a fantastic way to go about it. Now, some of the lenders are better for this than others. I don't know if Chase has this capability, but for Capital One and Amex, I know you can limit the credit line that your authorized user will use on that card. So, for example, my nieces and nephews, I let them have a credit card from my Amex, and each one of their limits is $300 because I know I can pay $600 in total if my nieces and nephews decide, oh, hey, I'm in school, I want to just go and have pizza, or I want to treat somebody. I can handle that. Now, if they put $3,000 on that gold card, I'd be like, hey, sorry, it got stolen, Amex. I apologize, but it did not get stolen, Amex. This is not fraud. No one ever said this. But if you trust people, I have a player two. I realize that having a player two is not always an option. But for example, my parents aren't credit card people. My mom has never even opened a credit card. She is a 78-year-old woman and she has never had a credit card. That is mind boggling to me. But she has an Amex Platinum card for when she goes to travel and make point bookings for her. She can go and sit in the lounge and have a drink. And so that has been a big point boost for me, both from the Capital One and from the Amex side.
Definitely makes sense. Apologies if I appear distracted. I was just looking to see what Chase's, if you can limit with Chase, just because I have one authorized user on a Chase account. But while I do that, Tariq, how do you go about earning points if you don't really have a lot of spend?
So I really liked RJ's answer, and I kind of want to expound upon it a bit. Coming from someone that was in a financial position where I was trying to not necessarily make ends meet, but save some more money and not spend as much. Know your budget. Also, if you don't know your budget, make a budget. Know what you're spending. And going with the cashback route, it's going to be better than trying to justify paying an annual fee, especially on something like a Sapphire Preferred, where even if you use the $50 credit and you want to use the term that makes RJ's ears bleed, you have to try to justify that number, whether it's a $95 annual fee or a $45 fee. You got to justify to yourself, can I spend that money? And let's be honest, it's still $95. You're just going to try to recoup the 50 because you're going to spend $50. Unless you're going to try to find like a quality inn that's exactly $50. I wish you the best of luck. So that's a big one. Know what you're spending and what the amount you're spending are. If you're spending a good amount on groceries, look for a grocery card. Look at something like maybe the City Custom Cash and use the 5% grocery category, or the Capital One Saver, or the American Express Blue Cash Everyday. Maybe the Preferred if you can stomach the fee. That's going to be your best bet. And if you are able to stomach the fees, maybe you can go to Shop. But for the most part, if you're not spending much and you don't really have a lot of disposable spend or discretionary spend after you cover your bills, after you do savings, investing, however you're doing your finances, I'm not going to pocket watch, but go the cashback route. You don't have to worry about worry about annual fees for the most part. And you can either buy points, whether on sale, or what I did before I got into travel, use the travel portals. More for hotels than airlines, but your mileage may vary. You might get lucky. So that's the best thing. Know your budget, know your numbers, and see what categories you can maximize and go from there.
Yep. Definitely a couple of different ways to go about things. RJ's route makes a lot of sense. Craig and Tariq highlighting budgeting also makes a lot of sense. Real-time follow-up, the Chase app does not make it readily easy to limit an authorized user's total spend on a card that I'm noticing. I would have to go dig into the website, but we're not going to do that tonight. So
but I imagine it's hard because we all share the same card number for Chase.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, I have to look into it. Not that I'm looking to limit my authorized users' monthly spend on that card. I'd much rather limit their monthly spend on other cards. But yeah, I just have to look at it, but I'm not super worried about it. Yeah, so we'll go to our next question. It is a non-credit card question, and it comes from friend of the show, Keith, who asks, sorry, Jason, still newly minted friend of the show. My apologies. Keith asks, if you could go to any concert in the world, which musician or group would it be, and where would you like to see them? RJ, we'll start with you on this one. And in the pre-show, you did mention that we could pick artists, since there's no definition in the question, we could pick artists who are current and those who are no longer with us. So who would you see and where?
Pick one alive, one dead. Because I think it's interesting, right? It gives us a little more range. And for the one who has passed on, I would very much like to see Patsy Cline at the Grand Ole Opry, because I am a country music fan, and to me, she is the greatest voice to ever have come out of country music. Just she is, and I would love that. For my other person, I would. It feels like cheating because she is alive, but she is of that ilk is Dolly Parton, because Dolly Parton is great. I kind of want to see her from 20 years ago, versus the Dolly who doesn't really do shows anymore, just because her shows were so memorable. But yeah, Patsy Cline and Dolly Parton. I'm a country music fan. I'm gonna pick the divas of country music, and you cannot get much bigger than the two of them.
Now, are you walking out after midnight, both at the Grand Ole Opry?
I mean, Dollywood would also be nice. Like, if you have a theme park that is off of you, I can stand to see you there. I would be okay with that. But yeah, also Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash. But I don't want to get too greedy with my list of amazing country artists that I would love to see. But yeah.
It's fair. When it comes around to me, I'm just going to be not fair with this question, with my answer. But we'll just wait and see on that one. Tariq, who would you want to see and where?
All right, so for my living one, this was actually one that was done last year, and it would have been one that I would have loved to go to. That would have been the Pop Out Ken and Friends concert on June 19th, 2024 in Inglewood, California, because of the not just Kendrick, but everybody else that was there, a lot of the California hip hop music legends. Yeah, that was spectacular. I watched that at home, and I would have loved, especially at the peak of everything that was going on in that Drake Kendrick rap beef. Seeing that live would have been an experience nonetheless. For my dead one, this would have been one that I would have loved to done with my dad. Would have been Prince, and I would have loved to see Prince in Minneapolis, likely U.S. Bank Stadium, because if that was even built when he was alive, not even sure. But whether that or Metrodome, if we got to, keep it to when we know he was living, because my dad he's a huge Prince fan, loved Prince, and I've never got to see Prince live, and being able to share that memory with my dad would have been a core memory that I would have taken that is beyond points and miles, beyond any other interest, because I love my dad, and my dad loved Prince, and that would have just been a spectacular show.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. Pretty much all eras of Prince would have been awesome. Um, and who knows? There's still like thousands of I believe it's thousands of hours of just unreleased stuff at the bunker.
So, real-time follow-up. Prince passed away April 21st of 16. US Bank Stadium opened July 22nd of 2016. So you would not have been seeing him at US Bank Stadium.
Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome would have been just fine, but nonetheless, I don't care where it was. Seeing Prince with my dad, yep, would have been just something that would have made my entire life, honestly.
Well, you don't want to go to the US Bank Stadium. They might change the price halfway through.
But honestly, has Prince ever put out a bad album? So like the whole show is just going to be amazing.
It's just there's not good to Prince or other Prince fans' standards because they know how good Prince is.
That is fair.
Craig, who would you want to see? Where would you want to see them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the youngest of my siblings by about 20 years. I'm an oops baby to the ultimate degree. And so because of that, my entire musical taste is formed by late 80s, 90s hip hop, rock, R&B, all of that. So for my still living folks, I would want to see Red Hot Chili Peppers in 1999 in Le Zenith, Paris. Under the Bridge spoke to me as a high school student in a way that it shouldn't because I didn't understand the song. And now, as a 30-plus-year-old man, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of pain in that song. Shouldn't have been listening to that at 16, but I understand it now. For Did, I just came back from the wonderful, awe-inspiring, fantastic metropolis that is Clarksdale, Mississippi, and found out that my grandmother was classmates with Sam Cooke. I would have loved to be, yeah, right. I also found out my grandmother had a middle name, and I was like, you had a middle name? I've known you for 30 plus years. This is what? But would have loved to see, he did a concert in 1965 in Clarksdale, Mississippi, his hometown, obviously birthplace of the blues. Change Gonna Come. Would have loved to have seen that and been able to hang out with a young Juanita Carter. That would have been fantastic. Um, so if I'd have been able to experience that, both Sam Cooke and just seeing what my grandma was like as a young person, that would have been fantastic. Um, just a lot of like emotion in both those two picks for me.
Be crazier still to find out if your grandmother was the inspiration for What a Wonderful World from Sam Cooke.
I hope not, but
Be crazy. Not saying good or bad, just crazy.
found out she was a backup dancer for him before he got big because, like, for those of you who don't know, Sam Cooke went through a pop era where before he really went into the deeper side of music. And yeah, she did that and then moved up to Chicago to be a dancer for like a dance troupe. And then when she turned 25, they were like, yeah, you're old, so get out of here. Who knew it was the 50s?
Leonardo DiCaprio was in the 50s?
All through the 50s.
There we go.
Matt is so disappointed in us.
No, not at all. Everybody has their tastes. I mean, I'm gonna say the most disappointing answer probably, but the setting I would love to see. I don't love live music. I've learned this over time. It's just too loud. And I don't love when I'm not getting the studio recording that I know and listen to for hours and hours and hours on end, and I know forwards and backwards, backwards and forwards. So when it changes, because all the reasons that it can change when you listen to a lot of rock and a lot of hip hop and all the other reasons, all the other genres that you listen to, things can change for a lot of reasons. Some of them not particularly good, like the inspiration for Under the Bridge. Um, those things can make things a little bit weird. But I would love to see a concert at Red Rocks. Red Rocks Amphitheater would be fantastic. I would love to see not only them Crooked Vultures be put back together and do some more concerts. I would also love to see all of the bands that create them Crooked Vultures at Red Rocks as like one giant concert. So it would be Queens of the Stone Age, Foo Fighters, Led Zeppelin, and them Crooked Vultures kind of as one just insane set. And yes, I'm going to be time traveling Jimmy Page and Robert Plant and getting back Bonzo and bringing back Taylor Hawkins, and I don't need Nick Oliver anywhere near the Queen setup. So yeah, that's what I'd do. Maybe another member of Caius or something like that. I don't know.
I like that you've combined Alive and Dead into one very like massive answer. You've taken it all.
Yes.
I'm just gonna say he had like the most boomer take before he said his answer.
Is Matt secretly a boomer? Tell us in the comments.
I learned after Interpol concert in college, like just live music ain't for me anymore. So yeah, at least I still have my ears, but I'm the kid who went to Warped Tour as a teenager multiple times. So what can I say? Yeah. So we're gonna go to our last question. It comes from Jetin with Jan, who asks, using credit cards with high multipliers that are already on the market. High multipliers defined as 4 times, 5 times, or 6 times. Create a trifecta of those cards to achieve your best points cash earning scenario. These cards which cards would you choose and why? You can use any combination of business, personal, travel currency, cashback, whatever. The goal here is to think about your monthly spend and how to best maximize it with high multipliers that already exist. So, RJ, I'll have you kick off this question.
Business gold, gold, platinum. If I'm gonna do it, it's gonna be an Amex. Like we all know it's gonna be an Amex, right? Um, I guess I could take out the gold and put the surpass in, because that's got a bunch of 6X's for Hilton. But yeah, it's gonna be platinum, business gold, and then either the gold or the surpass. If you're saying that, the business gold and the gold are cheating, then I'll throw the surpass in there just to differentiate it a little bit. But that would be like, it's gonna be Amex, Hilton, Delta, something in that range. And Delta doesn't have a 6X anything. It doesn't have a 4X anything. It has a 3X, and you will like it. So it's gotta be Hilton and then Amex cards. So yeah, I spend a lot of money on food. I spend a lot of money on online shopping. I work from home. I don't have to leave my house much. I live in the country, so I don't leave my house much because there's nothing to leave it for.
Yeah, no, I was going to try to make some jokes there, but what are you going to do? Go rile up Canadians?
I mean, I could go rile up Canadians. I could go cow tipping, which isn't a real thing, but everybody not from the country thinks it's a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, cows
I
are heavy.
Cows,
Yeah.
like, here's the thing that people do, if you do not grow up on a farm or near farms, cows are fucking huge. Like,
Massive.
you think a
Giant.
cow is just like a large dog or what?
delicious.
Like, some people think that they're just like large, like, we're talking like a ton. Like, a big cow is like a ton of muscle, and like if they get it in their head that you're gonna go down, you're dead. Like a pissed off heifer, like, is more dangerous than a bull. A bull just might have horns and like be ornery, but if you piss off the wrong heifer, you're just dead, and they'll like sit on you and you dead. Do not mess with cows.
Also, dairy cows are a lot nicer than beef cows. So if you run
Yes.
into a mean beef cow, done day. Bad day.
Yeah.
Of
Dairy
course, the
cows are,
mean ones. Of course, the beef cows are the mean ones. They know they're getting killed because they're delicious.
I mean, they don't know that because they're cows, but the dairy cows are handled more because of milking, so they're more and they interact with people more. That's why they're nicer.
Yeah, they know that you're not the threat that you could be.
True.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Tariq, you're up. Your 4, 5, 6 trifecta.
All right, so this is just going to be a wild one because I had to find cards that were above 3 because I like chase. So yeah, that didn't make it easy. So here we go. Just going to start with the IHG Premier Business. It's got to be the business, just so I can get that extra 5x on every now and again when I go to office supply stores, Office Depot, plus mileage plus X. I'm going to go Hilton Surpass because I'm going to give up give up Hyatt in lieu for Hilton because of the earnings categories and online shopping. And every now and again I'd look at an Embassy Suites and I'd be like, it'd be nice to stay there. So
It is.
I need to buy pearls for this podcast, so occasionally I can just clutch them.
I know they weren't expecting that one. And then the last one, because again, I need to find something above 3x, Wells Fargo Auto Draft Journey. And I'll just use the 4x for flights. I'll just pay for my flights on the Auto Draft Journey. And maybe see if mileage plus X, mileage plus X will work. See if mileage plus X works with the Wells Fargo. So yeah, there's my above 3x trifecta. And I get my 3x catch all with either Hilton or IHG points if I so choose, because I have options.
So we've had RJ say nice things about Built. We've had RJ advocate for points buying. We've had Tariq mention Hilton. Are we correcting the timeline? Like, are we fixing things?
No.
The
TVA is very upset.
I'm just glad that Tariq is going for his airlines through the autograph journey through that, because airlines and Tariq are not getting along very well right now.
Tariq, if you mention the Surpass and next week they refresh the Hilton cards, I'm getting a flight
refresh
down to Santa. Sir, right now nothing is safe from you. So if I am telling you now, I will fly to San Antonio and I will throw you in the river.
I wish you the best of luck in Terminal A on your return flight home.
Please, I go through Atlanta. Terminal A is fine.
At least there's a Whataburger there, so you have that.
When
Do
the
they have
threats
the
are
Dr.
hollow.
Pepper milkshake?
Do they have the Dr. Pepper shake? I don't know. I haven't been to Whataburger in a while. Those sellouts sold at that Chicago-based company. They've been going downhill since.
Hot take,
All right.
Dr. Pepper's gross.
You take that back.
I won't.
So, Craig, to distract from that very big bombshell, what is your 4, 5, or 6% trifecta here?
Yeah. So as you all will know, anything that I talk about in the Discord, we spend a lot of money on food, particularly groceries. There are not a lot of grocery cards that give you above 3x. I was so hurt when you told me I couldn't throw out the US bar. So I'm going surpass because that's going to cover dining, groceries, gas, all at 6x. Platinum because flights, and I refuse to be in the terminal with Adam J's kids. That's just not a thing. I have to at least get a plate. And then I was stuck between actually both of Tariq's cards, between the autograph journey or the IHG business. And for that, I'm going to go with the IHG business, purely just because I want more hotel status. If I'm only keeping up with 3 cards, I know that most of my time is going to be spent at hotels. We aren't going to be taking like really expansive flights, unless all of my points generated from a platinum are from work, which right now they are. So that's decent, but I would prefer to have hotel status than better airline cards. And for the most part, everything at that point is pretty much taken care of. And I will have a trillion Hilton points after 40 grand in groceries every year.
You'd spend your way to Diamond with the Surpass.
Yeah.
Get it.
And then I'd upgrade it to an Aspire.
Yeah. Yep. That's the thing that would happen. Yep.
But would you sit into the Hilton timeshare for a few thousand points? Would you sit into that meeting?
Absolutely. For 50 to 100,000 points, you're damn right.
I feel like you would toy with them. Like you'd be like, "Oh, tell me more," just over and over for 3 hours, and you just see their eyes just start to glaze over.
Can I tell you what we did last year for Myrtle Beach?
Please.
Hang on, let me take notes.
We went, and because I made the mistake of listing my player 2 there and not as a child, she had to come along with me. We both agreed, let's just have fun with it. So we kept going back and forth, and then we said, you know what? Let's just give us a second. Let us come over here and talk this through. We're really interested. And we were just over there shooting the shit. We're like, how long do you think they're going to let us sit over here before somebody comes over? No, let's just give it a timer. And they waited for us for about 6 minutes, and then they finally walk over and they say, hey, are you guys ready? Absolutely. Let's bring somebody in here. Could you grab your manager? We're going to go ahead and like really talk this through. Did this whole rigmarole. And then just to say, oh, yeah, we can't afford that. But thank you. Waste their time in 2025.
See, I got one in Vegas coming up Juneteenth weekend. So I am considering that. The only problem is there is an Aces game that I want to go to. So I can't waste too much time.
That's when
It's
you
only
just say,
2
"Oh,
hours.
my in-laws are Pritzkers." Sorry, gotta go.
Fortunately, my brother's in Vegas, so I could be like, I'm supposed to meet my brother at lunch in like 30 minutes. So can we like wrap this up?
The answer is always no. No matter what they ask you, no.
Oh yeah.
All right. I've been dreading this since I saw it, just because for the spend that I don't do a ton of like I'm split between multiple households, so I don't do a ton of primary spend. I could really just get by, honestly, with the Surpass, with the 6 times dining, the 6 times grocery, the 6 times gas. the 3x everything else. If I wanted to add a second card and just really put myself in a position where I'm never getting below 5x because I don't spend as much money as the cap, I could just double up and get the Hilton Honors business card, because for $100,000 it's 5x points up to $100,000 in spend. If I'm going to be doing Hilton stays, I pay cash for the lower end stays. I guarantee myself 5x on up to 100K in spend. That could cover my travel, my non-Hilton travel. For that base 5x, I'd have online spend at 4x. I'd have 6 times earning on, as I said, gas, groceries, dining. Your ride shares you'd probably have to throw on I would have to throw on the Hilton business card. But for everyday spend that I do, and like the occasional bills that get thrown my way for other purposes, giving myself that 100K pool of 5x spend with the 6x that I'd get on the Hilton Surpass, I could probably just get by fine with just those 2 cards. I'm not going to hit 40K in spend to get to diamond, but I'd build up enough points that I could probably do 60 nights. I don't know about 60. I can spend 60 nights in a hotel in a given year. But I can get pretty close with the stays portion of things.
So with your 500,000 points, what weekend away are you going to do at a mid-level Hilton?
Man, 500,000 points, I'm just going to do a night somewhere.
I
Obviously,
love
Maldives.
Hilton, but some of those redemptions, like if you're not doing a standard room with Hilton, some of those redemptions are rough.
Yeah, they are. But at least with gold, there's a reasonable chance that you're going to get an upgrade with Hilton Gold, as opposed to Marriott Gold, where Marriott Gold, they just look at you and say, that's cute. And Hyatt Discoverist, you're not going to really get anything with Hyatt Discoverist. Hyatt Globalist, you will. Hyatt Globalist is, if they got something to offer you, they're going to offer it to you. Hilton Gold, if they got something to offer you, they're going to offer it to you. Marriott Gold, not so much. Don't remember IHG, because IHGs I would usually just book outside of IHG because I was dumb.
Platinum gives you something. Usually you get that welcome amenity, which, I mean, I've been only staying at Holiday Inn Expresses, so it's either like a small amount of points. I think I've gotten like 500, or I got a snack, which at my last day, I got to choose like a drink and a snack at the little
market.
Yeah, the little market, which was great. My girlfriend needed the water, so I got her a water, and I got the little golden Oreos. So that was a win for me.
I can also tell you, you aren't going to get much at Platinum or at Titanium for Marriott. I've been there for 2 years now, and I've gotten 3 upgrades that entire time. Not a single one was at an actual vacation. They were all for business.
I feel like Marriott status is just saying like he's just flexing the status tier, knowing you're not getting anything. Like, yeah, I'm platinum, or yeah, I'm titanium. Like
100%.
Is being a Marriott loyalist an abusive relationship? Like I
Yes.
genuinely am asking, because it does not seem like good for anybody.
Marriott loyalists have Stockholm syndrome.
Marriott is status in name only.
I did the Marriott experiment purely just when we started getting into the points and miles to say, well, I did mostly Hilton stays. Let's test Marriott. I said I was going to do it for 2 years. This is my 2nd year. I will not be back for a 3rd.
I remember when I was starting the travel game, I was like, I grew up staying at Marriott's. I'll be Marriott. I looked at the points and I said, this was a mistake. Oh, thank God Hyatt has Chase too, or Chase has Hyatt too. So that was an easy pivot. God help me if I was Marriott or Amex and did Marriott. Well, no, I could have done Hilton. So
one episode, we have to have the debate between lots of points but easy to earn, fewer points much harder to earn. We need to have that debate at some point, Drake.
Basically, the Hilton
Valid.
versus Hyatt.
Yeah,
Hilton
that's
versus
right.
Hyatt, yeah.
Yep.
Can I throw a third option in that I think is really great and people don't talk about?
Choice.
Wyndham Diamond is fantastic. I was Wyndham Diamond for 1 year, got an upgrade quite literally every single stay. Now, every Wyndham you stay at isn't going to be fantastic, but if you're picking and choosing your properties, it's pretty good.
Didn't
The
you
best
just
bet
talk about a La Quinta?
literally just said pick your properties.
Craig's not going to be going to the La Quinta anytime soon, but he'll, maybe be fine with just a regular old Wyndham.
He'll upgrade to a
Wingate.
Wingate and be cool.
All right, we went with Wingate. Howard Johnson's aren't that terrible. If you're outside the South,
Aren't that
I will tell
terrible?
you.
They're going to put it on the sign next week.
Howard Johnson, we're not that terrible. The continental breakfast, the continent, Antarctica.
You'll only
I'm
get
gonna let you
mild
know.
food poisoning.
Only mild. Just a little bit of the runs, a little dysentery. You won't die on the Oregon Trail.
You'll just throw up one time in the first night,
Eat a banana, you'll be fine.
it's the people who got killed by the elk on the Oregon Trail that I was always intrigued by. Anyway, Jet and Jan, I apologize that I don't have a third card, but based on my level of spend, I could honestly get away with those two cards just because I know I don't spend more than 100,000.
City custom cash.
You shut your mouth. You report to the corner immediately.
No.
I'm gonna call Robert Ism back. Let him
Fine.
know that you changed your mind.
I will fly. And I'll ruin it for Craig and my
I
girlfriend's
was gonna
mama.
say, what did I do?
Seriously,
Fly
he's a
American.
first-time host on the podcast, first-time guest on the podcast, and you're just gonna destroy his airline.
Like, man. In
Why
fairness,
not?
it's not my airline by choice. But I'm gonna make the
Exactly.
best of what I
I'm
can.
doing him a favor. If
No,
I'm
you're
going
not,
to-
because I still have to fly them.
His work chose it for him, so he doesn't have the
But if-
ability to just switch.
But if they ruin it and his job has a
no,
brain,
they
maybe
ruin
they'll-
it based on points, not on like the airline goes bankrupt, sir. Like we're not talking about bankruptcy, just a terrible program.
You forget. My choice was Southwest. They'll be bankrupt in like 2 years.
Mostly because of the choices that they've made about the program, but fair. All right. We'll call it there for questions. If you have questions for the podcast, definitely be sure to drop them on our Friday editions. That is our Q&A episode. You can always email us at stackyourpoints@gmail.com or join the Stack Your Points Discord, link into the description. You will find the podcast questions portion of the Discord where folks like Craig will ask us questions from time to time. AP, friends of the show, Jason and Keith, Jet and with Jan, all those folks tend to use the Stack Your Points Discord, but any way you want to ask us is perfectly reasonable. Thank you for that. With that, I think we're going to wrap up this episode of Stack Your Points. You can always find us here on Wednesdays and Fridays on YouTube. You can catch us the full episode on Saturdays on the podcatcher of your choice. Please give us a like and subscribe. We are just pushed 330 subscribers here on YouTube. We would love to get to 350, then on to 400. I'm pretty sure we've got a good solid core of listeners on the Saturday show. So please drop a 5-star rating on that and continue to grow the podcast from there. RJ, if we want to find you in the vast expanses of the internet, where would be the best place to find you?
I mean, the Stack Your Points Discord telling people cent per point is dumb.
Also very anti-math.
I did math over the weekend. Not well, but I did it.
It's fair. I couldn't even remember that 1% of GDP would have been several. Anyway, Craig, if we wanted to find you on the vast expanse of the internet, where would be the best place for that?
Right in the Stack Your Points podcast Discord. Also, anti-math is pretty aligned with where we're going, so I appreciate it.
I can do some math, but the rejection of math and science is staggering. And Tariq, if we want to find you, where's the best place for that?
You'll find me at Reeks Rewards, the Stack Your Point Discord, and the corner where I'm going to put Ed Bastian, Robert Easom, Scott Kirby, and Bob Jordan in the corner and flog them with as many whips as I can because I am angry at them.
Very YN behavior.
I'm leaning towards Unk status, so, I don't know how much I got left.
Johanna and Marty, consider yourselves lucky because you've avoided the Wrath of Tariq this week. Absolutely. Well, you can find me at the Matt Clausen YouTube channel. You can also find me here on the pod and the Stack Your Points Discord. You can also find our colleague Lonnie at Call Me Lonnie, all one word, Lani, and he will also be on the Stack Your Points Discord as well. We appreciate your time. This was a bit of a long one, but we had a bunch of stuff to cover and some stuff to get off our chests collectively. So we will talk to you soon. We will see you next week. Thanks for watching.